2, 1.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The Brew with Matt and Mike is back after a 96-76 Wisconsin win over Marquette. And Greg Gard is now 4-1 over Shaka Smart, which is insane because Shaka's had a great tenure so far at Marquette. 4-1 for Greg Gard. Mike, give me your reaction to the game.
Thought it was kind of taken over from the start. Wisconsin was pretty clearly a better team, kind of what we all kind of expected, and Wisconsin did a great job of playing their scouting report. You could really tell by the shots that Marquette was getting that Wisconsin was okay with them taking a lot of three-point shots. They really closed off the lane. They didn't let them try and get in the paint. They tried to limit as many paint touches as they could. And credit to Wisconsin for taking care of the defensive end of the basketball by following their scouting report. And then offensively, John Blackwell had it going pretty early. And I like the ball movement. The ball was popping again today. Body movement, ball movement. Didn't get stuck a whole lot. There was a small portion in the first half where John Blackwell was cooking and he was feeling himself, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to see what this feels like, but how crazy this is going to get. But other than that, love the ball movement. And then two big guys, two of the better players outside of John Blackwell that I thought had great games was Bielawskis and Rodie. Obviously, Rodie did well on the stat sheet in terms of scoring, but he was great defensively. Same with Bielawskis. The insertion of him in the starting lineup, you could tell this game, I think physically he wasn't overpowered or overmatched in terms of quickness, and he did a great job of keeping guys in front of him on the defensive end. You could tell that they were trying to switch and attack him, and he did a great job of keeping guys in front. And you could tell, I think for me, as I'm seeing him grow, Bielawskis is probably going to remain the starter. We had talked about this earlier, and today he just looked really confident. He looked super comfortable, probably the most comfortable he's looked all season, which was great to see.
Yeah, I do think I like moving Nolan Winter to the 4 and having Bielawskis as a legit center. Like, he's just a solid body and potentially can stretch the floor for Wisconsin. But yeah, I really but the guard play, and Shaka Smart talked about this, man. The guard play, Nick Boyd and John Blackwell, the way they complement each other is at a super high level. I'm going to say, they by the end of the year, as they keep meshing and keep figuring things out together, and this team going to be one of the best backcourts in the country. But Andrew Rodie had a hell of a week. I don't know if he scored much against Northwestern, but I believe he dropped 8 or 9 dimes, and now today he scored a little bit, 17 points, 5 boards, and he was 3 of 5 from 3, and he shot one from way downtown at the Culver's logo. Loved what I saw from Rodie. And now I'm not asking Rodie to do this every game, but if Rodie to me looks like he has a nice jump shot, and if he can start just shooting a little bit better, along with how crafty of a player he is on both sides of the ball, what a perfect fit alongside the other starters. Wisconsin, they're still figuring things out. They're still learning to mesh and gel together. But I'm telling you, if Rodie and Bielawskis can just be that steady anchor who can every now and then hit a 3, and then you get Rodie is doing his thing, starting to hoop a little bit more. That's where before in the preseason, I talked about them being a 3 seed. I think you agreed with me about them being a 3 or 4 seed. That's kind of what I envisioned. So yeah, do you want to break down Andrew Rodie's game a little bit more today and just this week?
I've seen the flashes. It's interesting because he's done a couple of different things at a couple of his different stops, right? When he was at St. Thomas, he was a scorer. And I can see where he got to his 17 points a game, right? He can play out of the pick and roll. He's a bigger guard. He's a bigger ball handler. He does have a good touch from deep. His stroke looks super solid, very, very consistent. He hasn't shot it great the whole year, but you can tell there's another level of confidence when these guys are in the Kohl Center too. These guys shoot the ball really, really well there. But in terms of just his game overall, he's, like you said, he's super crafty, but he's 6'6". So, and in terms of the complementing of these pieces, and as we talked about a little bit with the portal, you can put teams together. it's really interesting to talk about the 3 guards for them, especially if Rodie can play at this level. Because, like you said, last game he didn't score a bunch. He was just spraying the ball all over the place, getting guys wide open jump shots in the corner, hitting guys on the roll. Like for me, he's their best pick and roll player in terms of the types of passes that he makes out of the pick and roll. He is one of the few guys that will pretty consistently hit a very nice pocket pass, as well as really looks for the roller. Some guys play, like especially at younger ages, college kids aren't necessarily looking for the roller quite as much, just because there's so much paint clogs. The paint is so much more clogged than in traditional spacing. But Rodie is tough, and when he's finding his legs within those other 2 guards, right? Because there's a combination factor of, man, Rodie is the 3rd option at the guard position, and you got Boyd and Blackwell taking up a big monster of shots. Both are averaging almost 20 a game.
Yeah,
so
28 combined today.
Yeah, so for them, it's like, for Rodie as the 3rd guy, it's kind of, hey, I got to figure out how to pick my spots, and they don't necessarily need my scoring. They need me to be more of a playmaker, and that's what I think he's kind of gelled into. Obviously, he got it done today, points-wise, but he was still making great reads out of the pick and roll.
And, I'm going to say for Marquette on their side today, I thought they looked bad. I mean, they were. Even Marquette fans, like even the most.
You texted me. You were like, they don't look very good.
Yeah, I said they looked ass. So like Marquette, I think they're better than this. I don't think they're a great team. I think they're far from it. I think they can improve, but I thought today they're not a good shooting team, but they shot poorly even for their standards, both from deep and the free throw line. They almost beat Oklahoma. They almost beat Maryland. They almost beat Dayton. I mean, we're talking high major programs that they barely lost to. Indiana blew them out in the second half, but they're young, and I respect what Shaka's trying to do. I really do. He's trying to build from within and not utilize the portal. I respect that, and it'd be cool to see that succeed. It's worked for him very well so far, but it's finally catching up with him a little bit this year. I'll say Chase Ross for them is obviously the best player. I could tell, I was there in person. You could tell Ross is getting a little bit emotional, and a lot of things Wisconsin did great. They played really well. They shot the ball really well. And actually, Marquette turned it over a few times on Wisconsin, which is interesting. I think 12-8. But Wisconsin, I'll point out 2 negative things that I saw, because a lot of things were great. I'm going to point out 2 negative things. One, I think I liked it at the moment. I called for it. John Blackwell's heat check. Like it was towards the end of the first half, and he pulled up from 3, and I was like, pull up, and then he missed it, and then they hit a 3 right after that, and then I think we missed
one in transition, right?
Yeah, and then I think they had then I think we missed, or Wisconsin missed, and then they had an and one, and then he had a foul at the end of the half, and I'll say it seemed like Blackwell, he's a dog, he's an alpha, but he was really chirping at that Marquette bench, which I love. But at the same time, I think he was getting a little bit emotional out there, where I think that heat check, I love it, but I could have potentially kept Marquette in that game. Marquette was only down 12, and it felt like they should have been down 20 at halftime. So I think that John Blackwell heat check, I called for it. So I said before he shot, I'm like, pull it. But then in hindsight, 2020, I was like, well, that kind of helped them. The chain reactions of that kind of helped them stay within striking distance. And then the other thing I'll point out that was negative, 2 times in the second half, Nick Boyd was really selfish. I think one, Rapp was wide open in transition. And then I don't know if it was Rodie who was wide open, both wide open for 3. One time Boyd turned it over. Another time I think he chucked up a brick. And I was like, no, it went in and out on him. And I said to the person next to me, I was like, God didn't like the selfishness there. that shot wasn't gonna fall. He was he had a wide open teammate, but instead he forced a shot over a big guy. So those are 2 things, and a little hero ball, as we texted about earlier today at the end of the first half. So those are the negative things that I saw from Wisconsin, but obviously there was a lot of positive.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the one thing with the John Blackwell heat check, so him pulling up in transition. For me, all right, whatever. I think he hit 4 straight at that point. Okay, that happens. Like, I'm okay with that. It was the next heat check he took. So he didn't make the first heat check, and then he went to the second heat check, and it was a pretty deep 3 on the left wing. And I was like, hey, there was maybe 18 on the clock. I was like, I get it. If the first one you took in transition, go ahead. Do your thing, young fella. Like, you earned it. But that second one with 18, after that heat check, and they made a 3 on the, you know what? Let's get a good possession. Let's try to go get a foul. Let's calm this thing back down. But that's also maturity within the game. That's also playing in games and understanding. And, I think Blackwell understood the rivalry too. This is his 3rd time in the game, so he understands it. So for him chirping at the bench, like,
I liked it.
I liked it,
but I think it led to potentially. I think him getting super like hyper competitive, which I love. I shouldn't say hyper competitive, but just kind of that tension kind of potentially led to Marquette staying within that game. In my opinion, I thought the way he handled it towards the end of the half, and then that dumb foul, which I thought was his 3rd. I thought it was his 3rd. There was a little confusion going on.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, but it wasn't.
Yeah, everyone thought it was their 3rd online. It said it was his 3rd for a little bit. So I was like, damn, if that was his 3rd foul, holy cow. That's kind of where I was coming. Thank God it was his 2nd foul. But yeah, so I also thought, and just real quickly, I got a few questions. We're going to wrap this episode up. We both got things to attend to tonight, but real quickly, how many times out of 10 do you think Marquette wins that game at the Kohl Center?
How many times? Today's game or just in general?
Today, just in general, Marquette right now at Wisconsin right now out of 10 times.
With that team at the Kohl Center, I'm going they lose maybe one.
I think one. I think
with
one out of 10 as well.
They
did play a lot worse. They did play a lot worse, and I think they
maybe 2. It just depends on. I think it depends on how they shoot the ball. If they have a good shooting day, like, it changes things, because then you can't close out short, you can't clog the lane, and they're more of a team that's built to get to the rim. So if they have a decent shooting day and that space is there, I think Wisconsin has a much more difficult time.
Yeah, but at the same time, I felt like in the beginning of that game, Marquette had a lot of 50-50 balls, just find them, or like offensive rebounds just kind of go exactly where it needed to go for them to get that second chance point. I felt like as bad as Marquette shot, they also had a little bit of luck at the beginning of the game. But yeah, that was a bad shooting night even for them. And then, in the postgame press conference, we talked about this off camera. Shaka Smart said, I coached a few guys who played in the NBA these last few years, and John Blackwell is one of those guys. He's that good. And we talked about a little bit off camera. I think there is a less than 1% chance that Blackwell comes back next year. What do you think? What do you think the odds are Blackwell comes back? And what do you think he should do?
I mean, for him, it's kind of what you want to do, right? Because the biggest thing for, like, we talked a little bit about it, is depending on where he gets, the advice he gets and the information he gets from going back to the draft process of, hey, where do you think he's going to fall, right? Is he going to be in a 1st round guy, or is he going to be late 1st round, early 2nd round? And it just kind of depends, because unless you're going in the lottery, it's really hard to be guaranteed a contract. It's the hardest league in the world, and now the landscape has changed where, if he doesn't go in that lottery status, it's kind of like he could stay another year and make a whole bunch of money. I think he might, especially if he has a big year this year, he can probably make more in college than he can in the NBA, especially his first couple of years, right? Now the game is different and the track is different too. For me, kind of looking at what he would do is I'm sure he would probably spend some time in the G League and then try and build his way up into a roster spot. I don't know if he's going to get a guaranteed roster spot. He's not overly explosive. He's an explosive guy. He shoots the ball. He's highly skilled. He's got a really good understanding of the game. He's just not necessarily blowing by guys the way you see some of these athletes in the NBA go. I mean, but he's, physically gifted, physically strong. It's just, a matter of situation for him. I think he would need to find a correct situation, because he's definitely a tweener. We talked about he's not the prototypical 2 guard. He's a little undersized for that. And I say a little undersized. It's not that he's small. It's just like they're picking guys who are super athletic, that are 6'7" and have a 7-foot wingspan. And those are the 2 guards that they're trying to find. That's just the type of body they are looking for. And John has a great basketball body. It's not that. So, for me, I think he can go and do well. He definitely has an opportunity. He's skilled enough to get there. That's one thing. And I also, like, mentally wise, I think he has the mentality to get there, in terms of, I'm looking at him this year, just how he looks, the focus he has, as well as Just the type of daily domination. I think they were talking about on the broadcast, Coach Gard has challenged him to dominate daily. And with that mentality at the college level, it can only carry over into the pros. And that can will him to, a rotation spot in the league. It can. It's not out of the question.
Yeah. But yeah, for next year, I think we're both on the same page. He probably makes more money for sure going back to college, but I don't know if his stock will really improve. That's the thing. Like, I don't know if his stock, and it seems like if he went through the draft waters this past season, I would be surprised if he doesn't go this upcoming season, and I don't see how much his stock would truly improve. But yeah, he's the point guard, and he's undersized at the 2.
I'm sorry to cut you off. It would only get worse. The mentality of the NBA is the younger, the better, because then they can mold you. Everybody thinks they can mold you into what they want. And then it's some goofy stuff because you can the more tape you have, the more they can critique you. And it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. And I was just saying at the 2 guard, you kind of already hit on this. At the 2 guard spot, he's not considered athletic at the NBA level. He is an athletic guy, especially at the college level, but he's not considered an athlete at the NBA level, and he's short for a 2 guard. But if he continues to shoot the piss out of the ball, then perhaps he will find a spot in the NBA. I wouldn't count him out, especially with that alpha, that hard work mentality, put his nose down and get to work. I don't think he's outside the realm of possibilities either. And then just to wrap this on up, Greg Gard is now 4-1 against Shaka, which is incredible. Like, Shaka's done a fantastic job. Also, well, Mike, what do you make about? Did you notice that Gard put Nick Boyd back in the game up 20 with 90 seconds left? Do you make anything of that? And also, what do you think he did? Yeah, he put Nick Boyd in the game with like 90 seconds and kept good players in until 30 seconds left. I found that kind of interesting. And then, yeah, so talk about that, and then just talk about his 4-1 record against Shaka, and we'll get on out of here.
I mean, Wisconsin runs the state right now. It's great. Coach Gard is definitely winning these battles, clearly in dominating fashion, which is great to see as, Wisconsin fans. And in terms of what Shaka has, it's he's a Wisconsin guy too. So both of them are from Wisconsin. So I think they have that kind of internal rivalry anyway. And in terms of just, what Shaka has the ability to do, I think he'll turn it around. If he can keep those 2 young guys, those 2 freshmen he has, those are 2 guys that they can build around. And in terms of keeping good players in at the end, I think part of it is he understands that it's a rivalry game and some goofy stuff can happen. And also, I don't know what's underneath the hood between him and Shaka Smart, but if there is something, let's go digging.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Gard, no mercy. He's going John Kreese out there on Marquette, but yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for making it to the end of the episode, and I'm sure we will see you again soon. Have a good night. All right, man.